Treadmill seeming like it's losing power on you or moving slow as you're walking and running on it, maybe even stopping on you mid-walk, mid-run? Well, it's probably because of this. So in case you guys did not know, part of maintaining your treadmill every so often or every couple months is checking on your motor brushes. And if you don't know what motor brushes are two little brushes with springs at the end of them located inside the drive motor of your treadmill. And your drive motor is located underneath the motor hood of your treadmill. If you don't know what a drive motor looks like, I have 3 different ones right here that I pulled out. And what we're gonna go over in this video is how to check or replace a motor brush in each and every one of these motors. And I decided to bring out 3 different kinds because they're probably of which one you most likely have. So that way when you watch this video, you'll know how to replace or check your motor brushes yourself. Now, we are gonna talk a little bit more about brushes, the purpose of them, what they do inside a drive motor, and what to look for when you're checking on them. But I first wanna say that if you don't check your motor brushes every so often, they do wear out over time, and if they get too worn or, God forbid, break, you will experience poor performance on your machine. As stated in the intro of this video, your machine may get slower on you, feel weaker on you when you're running or walking on it, and yes, your machine can stop on you. The console will still be on, but your belt will just all of a sudden stop, and that can be very dangerous. So let's talk a little bit more about brushes and take a look at what they look like and how to replace them right now. All right, so we have a closer look at our drive motors here, but before getting into those, I want to show you what a brush typically looks like. So if the camera can focus here, these are motor brushes. They're made of carbon and they have a spring on it, as you can clearly see here. And where these are located on each individual drive motor is on this one underneath this cap right here, this one where these wires are popping out underneath this cap, and inside this cap right here. And again, there's 2 motor brushes, so if you spin this around, you'll find a cap looking like this, a cap similar to this, which is right here, wire coming out, and the caps on this one look the same as well. And how you get the motor brushes out is with a flathead screwdriver or something that you can pry these things open with. Now, for these particular drive motors, all you got to do is stick the flathead inside the slot, spin it, and to be honest, these are practically easy. Just pop that out and you see the brush is just, the spring is just ready to give. And very simple, you just slide it on out. There you go. And then you could check inside towards the commutator, which we'll talk about a little later. These are the next easiest. All you got to do is pry this open just like that. Really simple. And then you actually want a needle nose pliers because it has a wire right here that is plugged in. So you want to take that out. Let me get that real quick. All right, so we want to take our needle nose pliers, grab a hold of that, pull it out. There we go. And all you got to do is lift this. It's held on by this little clip right here, but you just pull on it, pops right out. And this one looks slightly different, not too different. Doesn't have a spring, but that's what that one looks like for this guy. And these are kind of hard. I know it's not recommended, but you can pull the wire. They're very stuck on there. I've tried with a flathead screwdriver, and the only best way I could find to get this cap off is by really roughly pulling on this wire. If you guys have any other way of getting these caps off safely, please let me know in the comments down below. But this side was a little bit easier prying out with the flathead screwdriver. Didn't have to pull on the wire so much. But there are clips on either side. Pop that off. And there's a spring, and there is the carbon brush. And you could see that the wire is attached to this brush via the spring and goes into it. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the point of these brushes? What these brushes do is they take electrical current through the wires, and it travels through the carbon brush into that slot right there to what is called a commutator. So if I can show you a zoom in real quick. All right, so I have a zoom in here into the slot, and you'll notice where the carbon brush sits, this little slot right here, underneath is a copper commutator. That's that copper underneath there. And that's what the brush is sitting or rubbing against. So the brush sits in this slot, current travels through the wire, through the carbon brush into the commutator, and the commutator receives the current and the rotor starts spinning. So that carbon brush needs to make constant contact with that commutator in order for your drive motor to function properly as it should. If it's making constant contact, it'll generate enough torque, enough power to move that belt. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, so over time you can obviously guess that when it's making constant contact with that moving commutator, it's gonna wear the brush out over time. You're gonna get shavings, you're gonna get dust, carbon dust all over the commutator. And what can happen is over time, that commutator gets dusty or dirty with carbon shavings, and that can prevent proper contact with the motor brush, thus causing your belt stopping on you or your belt feeling not as powerful as you're running on it. So what you're going to have to do is, once you maintenance your treadmill and you're checking up on it, just maintaining it, and you check to see your motor brush is okay and your commutator is okay. If you notice your commutator is pretty dusty or dirty, you're going to have to clean it, and you can only clean it with what's called a Commutator Stone. And that's what these are right here. This is a Commutator Stone. This one's obviously too big for that slot, but we sell these on our website, hydrafitnessexchange.com. If you want some, I'll put a link in the description down below. But these stones is what you use to insert, touch lightly against that commutator, and then spin the drive motor wheel, flywheel, so that the stone rubs against the commutator, and that's what is going to take off all those shavings or clean off your commutator so it's nice and shiny copper again. So you could buy these, again, link in the description down below, but that's what you would use to clean it. Now, if your commutator is fine, or let's say you cleaned it, but now you're inspecting your brush, you're probably wondering, at what point do I replace my motor brush? How worn does it have to get before I have to think about replacing it? So Landis recommends that you replace these motor brushes when they have 3/8 left. Another recommendation is replacing them when they're 1/4 of an inch, or they have 1/4 of an inch left, or are 1/4 of their original length. Other telltale signs of when you need to replace these is if you look at your motor brush and they have any cracks or breakages inside of them, you definitely want to replace it. You do not want to risk having these in there when they have breakages, cracks, or crumblings, seem like they're crumbling up. You don't want any carbon chunks flying in your drive motor. Obviously, that would cause some issues. So take note of that. Other signs is if you start smelling a burning smell coming out from underneath your motor hood, that is a sign your motor brush is getting too worn or worn out and needs replacing. You also might see flashes like sparks coming out of your drive motor, or flashes underneath your drive motor, your motor hood. If you start seeing sparks fly, that means your brush is getting way too small, too worn, and of course, you're gonna have to buy a new one. So take note of those signs, and if you want any of these brushes, we do provide some for certain models of machines on our website, hydrafitnessexchange.com. I'll put a link in the description of a couple, or at least I'll attach it to the video, and you can like scroll through, see if any of them match your needs. But if you want to find the one to your specific model of machine, just hop on our website. I'll put a link to our website, obviously, in the description, and type your model in, and you can find for yourself your own motor brushes. Now, some other things I want to mention is how often you need to check these. So, again, every 3 to 6 months is when I'd say check on these. That's typically when you're supposed to maintenance your treadmill if you're a casual user. If you're using it every day or every other day and not for long periods of time, 3 to 6 months should suffice. But
these wear out depending on your usage of the machine. So if you're more of an intense runner, maybe check on it every 1 to 2 months, every time you're maintaining the machine. They say these last for about like 2 years, and I did read somewhere that after like 1,000 hours of treadmill use is when you want to check on this or replace this. But I would just say, obviously, like I've been saying, check on them every time you maintenance your machine. Better to be safe than sorry. All right, so it's time now to replace the motor brushes or reinsert them back in each individual drive motor. We're going to start with this drive motor, and you'll notice that the clip is seated all the way inside there that holds the motor brush in. So with some needle nose pliers, I'm going to pull that out, and then I'm going to insert the motor brush in there. Might be a little tricky, but we're going to try to get that in there. And the motor brush is going to be facing this way, by the way, not this way, but this way. So let's try to get that little clip out, get a firm grip on it, insert the motor brush in the slot. The clip goes right on top of the motor brush, seating it in. And then with your needle nose pliers, you're going to reclip the wire where it's supposed to be connected. So right there, seat that on there, make sure it's nice and secure all the way down. And there we go. Then we put the cap right on top, really easy. Boom, just like that. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so we're on to this drive motor right here, and this one's fairly tricky, but we want to insert these 2 blue wires like so. The way it's shaped is going to slip right in. If you do it backwards, it's just not gonna insert into the slot, as you can see. So it should slide right in. Then the red wire with the motor brush is going to seat like this into the drive motor. And here is where the tricky part is, because this spring is going to keep pushing against you, and you're going to have to shove it in, and this red wire sits in this little slot right here, or it seats there. And what we got to do is try to get this cap to this little piece of this. The middle piece of this cap is going to sit in between these blue wires, and we got to try to keep that spring from popping out, and it's always going to want to pop out on us. So we're going to insert in between the blue wires, going to try to get that spring to not pop out on us. Just like that. And then we just press it in. And we want to get the red wire in such a position that it sits in the slot and doesn't get creased or bitten. Or, you know, we just don't want it to get snapped on by this cap. So got this in, and that's how it should look like. Last but not least, another really easy drive motor compared to the first one. Here's our motor brush. It just slides right on in that slot right there. Boom, just like that. And then it has these little edges on the sides that just slip right in, just like that. The spring is gonna want to come out on you, but all we need to do is get the little cap and slide the cap in such a way that that spring will not pop out. And then it's a simple spin. And then you want to twist the rest of the way with a flathead screwdriver till it's nice and tight. Bam. And that is how you reinsert motor brushes in your drive motors. If you like this video, please leave us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this to help you fix your treadmill problems. And of course, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.